Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Atlanta Film Festival's live. I've just invited Evelyn Lorena to join me. Let me see if I'm gonna wave back at some of y'all while we wait. Good afternoon, good afternoon. Yay! Hi, Evelyn. How's it going? Happy Friday Eve.
Oh, yes. I have a cold, so it's like not, yeah, I just think that like the change of seasons is like,
Okay.
well, also I went to Canada for Imagine Native for for that Toronto festival, and it got down to like 40 degrees really quickly, and I don't think my body was prepared. So I'm just I'm, trying to get over it. But otherwise, and it's actually like an actual cold, which is great because usually, like, since the pandemic, everything has been something more severe. And
not
so
that
I'm just
serious.
happy.
It's like, it's going to leave. It's going to go. This is just my excuse to not leave the house.
Yeah, it's just a cold. Yeah, and I even went to the doctors to make sure because it got pretty gnarly for a second. And they were like, no, it's just a cold. I was like,
I was going to say, yeah, because I know
How-
this weekend here, because were you in Canada this weekend or were you in Canada like last week? Okay.
Yeah, last week. No, I was by Thursday.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly here too. Yeah. It was like 85. And then I've got the weather app on my phone and it's like, hey girl, it's going to be like 31 degrees.
Yeah. Wait, what? I mean, I've been happy with the weather right now. Like, I mean, well, maybe not today, but like, well, it's okay. But for a while, I was just in Canada thinking like, I need to go back.
It's the sharp turn for me. It's the, we could have did something more gradual, but we're here now.
I'm just not like a cold person. Like my hands get really cold, and like anyway, it's not about my.
I can go on because I'm not a cold person either. Well, welcome. I wanted to know. You said you went to Canada. What else have you been doing since the festival? Because I think the last time I saw you, at least had to been. Was it our rap party or was it like our brunch? What have you been doing since then?
I mean, I've been writing. I actually am taking some time here in North Carolina. I think over the next 6 months, to just finish writing this feature and this pilot that I've been working on, which is a bit of a privilege, I'm aware, but also kind of not, because the strike has been, putting a lot of things on hold. And I spoke to my agents about it, and they were just like, yeah, do what you need to do. And but besides that, I've also been, I think since the festival, supporting the film and traveling to different festivals. We've gotten into like, I think about 30 festivals just from like May to now. Yeah, which has been great because we started our festival circuit with Atlanta.
We were premiere. Oh my
God, yeah. So I've been really excited, and we did Imagine Native. We've just done so many different things, and then New York Latino was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, and we're doing some other festivals here in the South this coming week, like Carborough Film Fest. And then we have another one in New York, CAF NY, that's like next week, I think. And yeah, it's been really
so cool.
Yeah, and the festivals have been great too, because a lot of them have, like accommodation budgets and things. And so it's been really nice to be able to travel. Some of them, obviously, I haven't been able to, and that's okay. But I've just felt really kind of lucky to be able to meet so many new filmmakers, like and people that are really doing beautiful work on this year's circuit. And
so I'm going to set up the room real quick. I just wanted to warm it up and just kind of jump into the conversation. But for those who are joining us, for those who are meeting us for the first time, my name is Aston and I rock. I am the narrative shorts programmer here at the Atlanta Film Festival. And I'm here with Evelyn Lorena. She is the director, producer of Gabriela. And so we're going to talk today a little bit about Evelyn's journey. We already started talking about her journey with Gabriela that premiered at our festival and is apparently gone on to do incredible things. And so I want to ask, with Gabriela being that it premiered at ours, talk to us or remind us a little bit, refresh us a little bit. Was Gabriela like your first short, or is it like your third baby, or what's the story with Gabriela and how it came to be?
Technically, yes, it's my first one. I had produced two other shorts that I was also in that I had done a couple years before, but they, like, one of them was like, you know, kind of just out of school, and then the other one was like, you know, that I sort of co-did with my producer now, Maris Litica. And then I also kind of co-directed a short that we had done for Outfest with H. Alberto, and it was like a little mini short. But my one that I actually like directed myself and had, like, you know, all of the kind of creative input like that, where I wasn't sharing titles or trying things for the first time like that, is this one. So yeah, it's definitely my first one, and it was like a strange one to do because I ended up doing so many other hats as well. Like I used to just try the directing thing on its own, but there were, you know,
You were an
sometimes you have
independent
to take other
filmmaker.
hats on, and yeah, yeah. And also, like, you know, the acting portion, because a lot of people will ask me about that. I wasn't my original choice for that. I thought, you know, we're gonna do auditions and things like that. But one of the mentors that the fellowship that we did through Netflix had suggested was like, this could be really healing. And he was like, I feel like this is you. Like, not that it's autobiographical or anything, but a lot of it was being pulled from emotional truth from myself. And so he felt like it would be a good experiment to see if I could do it, especially because that was my, you know, my first sort of thing into the entertainment industry. And so I talked to my producer, and he was like, he agreed. And so we really planned everything out, you know, and made sure that everybody, whoever was working, whether it was cinematographer, myself, the other producers, etc., had a really safe kind of environment and were able to work efficiently, because we knew on the day, not only were we having very little time at our locations, but we also wanted to make sure that, like, I was able to, you know, rise to the challenge. So yeah, it was, I thought overall, I was really impressed with how my team came together and how we put everything together. I'm still kind of in shock because I look back and I'm just like, wait, how did that happen? Because I have no idea, like, you know, especially with the water sequences. Like, the water sequences were just, they're not real. I hate to, like, you know, say like Santa's not real, but they're not real. And so many people thought they were real, but they're actually VFX composited. So
Okay, so
yeah,
now I have a
it's
couple
crazy,
questions. I
but
do
we
want to
did it.
address one of the folks that commented. Yes, this
Yeah.
will be recorded. This interview will be on the Instagram page once we're finished. So never fret if you've got to go back to work. So um, you talked a little bit about, I first want to talk about acting in your film, right? Because even as a filmmaker for myself, I ended up having to act in my own series. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And they were like, Aston, nobody can be you. Like, nobody can be you. Talk a little bit about your process. You said it was like a healing process. Talk about your role that you ended up playing and what you were able to bring to that role. And even when you're talking about that, kind of talk about what Gabriela is about. Because because I know that we know.
Oh yeah. Yes, everyone needs to probably. Let's just start with that. Yeah, Gabriela is a short film, 16 minutes. It is about a young undocumented Guatemalan woman who's trying to join a country club swim team in the American South. But the story itself is about her journey to self-acceptance, I think, and it's more about her reconnecting not only to herself, but through her familial roots through the water. And so there's, you know, some sort of poetic sequences throughout the film. And I think for myself, it was healing because I felt that throughout my life, there's so much rich history, not just from my family, but from, you know, ancestral sort of history, um, that I felt really connected to very recently, more so because of, I had gone through like a pretty severe illness, and um, was like in a coma for a month. It was like a whole thing, but I got really reconnected to a lot of the spiritual aspects of my culture. Um, and I sort of tried to infuse that to the film. And I feel that, like, healing wise, it was mostly addressing things that I had felt, I think, growing up, which was feeling a bit ostracized and feeling not quite good enough for a lot of things. Like, I always felt whatever space I was in, that I was like in between worlds. And I feel that Gabrielle is kind of like that, because she was too young to know a different life than the United States, yet she isn't, you know, enough for these other spaces that she wants to be a part of. And I definitely related a lot to that, and the psychological kind of impacts of that. Um, and what that does to a person is you slowly start to think that it's you. You know, you start to think, I don't have things to offer. Like, why was I made this way? You know, how can I change? You know, how can I become somebody else so that I can at least survive in these spaces? And that's not, I don't think, exclusive to, you know, a Guatemalan with indigenous heritage or something. I think that that relates to a lot of people of color. I mean, even Caucasian people, I'm sure, have felt, you know, ostracized for different reasons in different spaces. And I definitely wanted the story to feel universal. I didn't want it to feel um, like it was a niche kind of story. That was a very huge passion of mine with it, where I wanted people to see it and feel like, oh, this could be me if I was in this situation or whatever. You know, it doesn't, I didn't want that to feel like I was writing a Latino story or whatever, you know, because I feel like that's secondary to
Yeah.
the story I was
I
trying to
think
tell.
though, to your point, what I have told, or what that I've had with other filmmakers, I don't think it's any less powerful if it is a Latino story, because I think what happens is, what I tell people all the time is like, when your story is specific, that's when you make it universal. I think when people try to make a story too
Yeah.
broad, or when they try to make a story relate to everybody, they get lost in the sauce, because then they lose their identity and all of that. And
Yeah.
so I think I really enjoyed Gabriela because it's still, there was a softness to the rawness. Does that make sense? I think that
Yeah.
Gabriela was a very in your face story about someone feeling not just feeling ostracized, but they were deliberately discriminated against. Let's call it what it was, or what it is. Essentially, it's a living work. Um, and so she was discriminated against, and still was able to connect to a higher power in the meantime and through this experience. And
Mm-hmm.
people who have been discriminated against, whether they are from different backgrounds, like, you're right, this does happen. But I think the specificity in the way that she was discriminated against it's still what makes it powerful. And so I just want you to know, like, it doesn't get lost, or it doesn't, like, I don't want you to feel like it can't be the story that's culture specific, because that's what makes
Sure.
it so beautiful and so robust. And I learned a lot too, just because, like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of conversations about, like, Latino versus Mexican versus, Central American. And so I'm learning, like, I'm listening to things that are like words that are Spanish and words that are actually indigenous to that culture. And so you brought that across very beautifully. Um, you're very welcome.
Oh, thank
Um,
and I guess, like, I agree with you. And I guess, to clarify, what I mean about a Latino story is more like, there's the expectation sometimes when you're like presenting something. And I've been in rooms before where I've had somebody say to me, and granted, it was I don't remember the name of the person, and I'm not gonna, like, out them, but for example, like, I've been in rooms before where they'll say, oh, well, let's push
I see.
this more
Yeah.
in a direction. And I'm there. And I like that you say, when you make it more specific, because there isn't like a
Right.
generalized Latino thing. Like, it's just like our experiences as they are. And I always found that a little bit disturbing, because then you're just putting forth these like empty shells of like what maybe the kind of white colonial idea of a person is, you know, versus the truth of them or the humanity of who they actually are. So yeah, that was really important to me. Like you said, the specificity of pretty much everything, like just how specific can we get? Because you're right, that's how it becomes universal. And we definitely didn't want it to be, like you said, like a broad stroke of something, because then it does. And that wasn't my experience. Like, my experience was never like, I mean, if there was discrimination in any way, obviously, like, that was its own thing. But I never, like, you know, I never woke up and I would look in the mirror and say, time to be Latin today or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're already embodied, you know? And so it was never a thing where, anyway, I tried to bring that to it, where, like you said, it's like there's rawness to a lot of these things, like especially the things that she says to her mother, but that there's like a softness, because that's, you know, what the character is and who, you know, the story is. So anyway.
I wanna, and so who do you play in Gabriela, just so that?
Oh, I play
Okay.
Gabriela. I play Gabriela, so that everyone's clear. Yeah, I play Gabriela. Maria Telon plays my mother, Alma, and Victor White plays the Stefan next door neighbor love interest. I'm trying to think who else. There's other people, obviously, that were involved, but those were the three main.
Okay, those were the stars. Those were our they stole our attention. Y'all stole our attention. I want to talk about your you mentioned uh bouts of spiritual connection within the story, right?
Mhm.
I know that we were where were we? I think we were at the Home Away screening. Was it Home Away? I don't know if you were, I don't think you were in that lineup, but I don't know if you were at that screening either, just in the audience. But John makes a joke about films ending with like a pool, or like the main character jumping and emerging in water, and how that's like usually the tell that someone's being reborn. And as cliche as it is, water, it doesn't take away from the fact that water literally is that, you know, it is that symbol, or it is that representative of being reborn into a space, or that cleansing factor, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about the scene that you created, that you can, that's not in a pool apparently, that's composited, right, where she's in water, and why that was water, I guess, the spiritual connection in Gabriela for this film, or what were there other elements to talk about why it was important for us to see her in water?
Yeah, I feel that, and it's not just for Gabriela, but for myself. Water carries everything in life. I think, you know, we're made of, you know, 3/4 water, and we're electrical magnetic beings. I really believe that. And water is that kind of, you know, it makes and allows us to be conducive in our life. And, you know, when we get poisoned, what do? We drink a lot of water. You know, that's the first thing it tells you on like a bottle, right? It'll be like, drink water, pour water. You know, bacteria doesn't grow in still water. You know, I mean, and I'm sorry, it grows in still water, but it doesn't grow in the running water. You know what I mean? And I feel like water is life. And so whenever we need to reconnect to life and find ourselves to life, the water is the greatest source for that. And especially for Gabriela, who's already a swimmer, clearly she feels free in the swimming moments. And I tried to infuse the film with those moments so that you can see the places that she feels without judgment and free is in the water. And it ultimately becomes like the place that reminds her of her worth and of what she can bring to the table. Because I think, like, throughout the film, she questions that, but then by the end, it almost doesn't matter. Like, you know, it almost is like, hey, actually, I've always been worthy, and maybe I can start to look at life a different way, you know, regardless of what other people think, whether I'm denied from this country club or not, or whether I'm denied from XYZ spaces, like I can still move forward liking myself and, you know, start that journey, I feel like. And the self-acceptance, I think, in the film by the end with the water, I don't think it was meant, or my intention, I mean, people can take it however they want, right? Because it's not mine anymore. But I feel the intention was that she was beginning that journey, because for me, self-acceptance is not something that you just kind of arrive at and it's like this climactic moment of like, I got it, no problem. You know, it's this cumulative journey of like moments of mild self-discovery that suddenly, you know, maybe 10 years later, you're like, oh, all of it makes sense now. But in the moment, it's not. But it feels sometimes that you have little breakthroughs. And I feel that that last scene was more of like a breakthrough scene of like, hey, actually things are going to be okay. And I can start to look at my life differently, I guess. And and I think that that also comes from the power of the freedom that she feels in the water. And, you know, the scene before, she was at the ocean with her mother, and there's a deeper connection there, I think, not just to her mother, but acceptance of her heritage, because there's a moment earlier that she says, why was I made this way? I don't want to be this person. Essentially, she's denying her heritage for a moment. And I feel that in the last moment, I think she's starting to also see that in like a weird visceral understanding of it. Like, I don't think she's looking in the mirror thinking of these things and it's like she's got an essay going on. I think it's more those moments in life where you just understand it, right? And I feel that that's kind of what the water is like. Maybe she doesn't have an essay dissertation about her connection to the heritage, but she understands it in a different way.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, I do, because like the what I heard when you said that is like when she arrives in the, it's like it's not the full dissertation about what identity is. It's simply just being in the water and being like, and so it is. Here. I felt that, and I love that. I actually like, even as you were talking, like there's a difference between like seeing yourself and then just feeling and just being and floating.
Yeah. And I feel like that's life. Like like I said, I wanted it to feel moments of like true to life, because for me, any sort of breakthrough I've had about myself has not been this like, you know, in a lot of films they'll make it like this like, you know, triumphant climactic thing, and it is, you know, it feels that way sometimes, but sometimes it really doesn't. Like sometimes you wake up and, like I said, you're like, wow, you know, 5 years went by and okay, cool. Like, you know, and what have I learned about myself? And then you have to take a stock of that, you know? And it's been all these little moments versus like some arrival at some place, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's me. That's
Listen,
me. Maybe everyone
I
else has a
think
more
you said
dramatic
a
life, I
word
guess.
when you're just like, you know, the movies make it this climactic moment, and sometimes it's just, oh, like,
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to diminish that too, because I did try to infuse that moment to be like the most important moment, you know, but I guess I also wanted there to be an element of like this like quiet satisfaction versus like you said, like some dissertation on identity or
I
something.
want to know, with the, I guess, it being the beginning, right? You talked about like how Gabriela being in the pool is kind of the beginning of something else. So now that it's been out, now that it's going to or have been at 30 festivals, which again, congratulations. That's so incredible. That's really incredible. That's so cool. You're welcome. What
Cool.
do you hope? And now that, and you said something very important, it's not yours anymore. Um, but even
Mm-hmm.
still, what has been the feedback on your film? How, and what do you want people to walk away with after they see Gabriela?
Um, well, the audience reaction has been very humbling, I feel, because, you know, it feels weird to kind of voice the compliments a little bit, but, you know, that I think the biggest thing that's been pleasing to me is people relating to it. People that would not necessarily be relating to like that I thought would be relating to a story like that. Even men, which has been kind of nice because, you know, I just, you know, it is a more, I think, there's a feminine voice there. And so, and maybe that's my own projection. Like, I think men are very capable of sensitivity. But I was just sort of shocked when I would come out of screenings and I would have, you know, men writing to me and say, hey, I related to her and her need to like get forward and make something of herself and try to go against obstacles. And that was very nice because, you know, I think the original intention of the film, when people would ask in grants and things like that, like the demographic, I kind of overlooked that, you know, in the sense of like the demographic was for, you know, I think females. So that's been really cool to feel and to see. And then I think at the end, leaving people, you know, from my end, I want people to take whatever they want from it. But if I had to put an intention to it, for people to really learn, or maybe not learn, but to feel what, you know, to feel that self-acceptance, not just for her, but for themselves. Because I feel that a lot of people move through the world feeling like an imposter or something. And I hate to say it, but we're all not imposters and we're all imposters. Like all of us are trying to figure out some form of identity all the time. Like that is the nature of life. Like it's fluid. You know, when you think you found yourself, something's going to break it apart. You know, it's always fluid. And so I think if we leave having a little more compassion for that journey and that struggle and of trying to find ourselves, we can create a little more empathy, not just for a character like Gabriela, but for ourselves, because a lot of times the person that we don't have compassion for is ourselves. So hopefully somebody can leave with the realization of like more of their own worth and reconnecting with the elements that make them themselves.
Now, if someone wants to watch Gabriela, whether they want to see it in a theater or watch it online, how are they able to watch the film and where can they see you next and what's next?
Sure. Well, hopefully you can see me in something soon. Like I said, I'm working on these two projects very diligently, but in terms of seeing the film, we are announcing our screenings on our site, which is at Gabriela_film on Instagram, and that's where we announce all of our screenings. Like I said, we have another one that's coming up this weekend as well as the following week, and we'll post those there. In terms of watching it just like privately, we're waiting to release that till after the festival circuits are done. And we know so many people have been so patient. I've had people asking me for like a year now, but I swear it's, you know, it'll come out soon. But you know, if I know you, I'm always happy to send a screener to you, a private screener that you can watch for a temporary time. Other than that, it's when there's a festival, we'll announce it and we'll have tickets available and
how
you
can
can watch it in the
they follow
theater.
you and your journey? And how can they follow
I'm
you,
sorry?
support you?
Oh, you can follow me at Evelyn Lorena Official on Instagram. That's my primary thing. I have TikTok, but I don't post to it. I should though. I might start doing that soon. But yeah, that's where you can follow me, and you know, anything that you want to write to me or say or ask, I'm
Awesome. Well,
available.
Evelyn, this has been such a beautiful interview. You're incredible. Your intentionality is incredible. Your film is incredible. Thank you so for taking time out of your day to speak to us. And
I'm so glad it was you too. I mean, not that I wouldn't want anyone else or anything, but I was like happy because I wanted to talk more with you at the festival, because I was like, she's so cool because you make your own work too. So I wanted to connect and have that perspective. So
yes,
I'm glad that we
and
did.
we'll get to connect. Like, you know, we have each other's Instagram, so yes, please send me a message.
Of course. Thank you guys for considering me for
Absolutely.
this. I really appreciate it.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your lunch hour. This has been, I don't know what this is called, but thank you for joining us.
I
And we'll
love it.
talk to you soon.